Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's time to talk Cleveland Guardians. Off to a little bit of a bumpy start this spring. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want to start with the ace of this staff because this is a really weird and interesting makeup for a starting pitching staff. We still don't know what Tristan McKenzie is going to be, although he looked great in his spring training debut. His velocity was up. He would be in the mix. You've got 3 or 4 names really in the mix that you could use to answer this question. Jason, we'll start with you. At season's end, let's say the Guardians win their division or a wild card and they make the playoffs. Who will be Stephen Vogt's ace at the end of the year? Who gets that ball in game 1?
I think it's Gavin Williams because he was supposed to be that guy last year. Tweaked his arm at middle end of spring training and never just was able to get over it. It was one of those things that just lingered for much longer than they thought. He ended up having to change his training regimen as a result of it. He hurt it using weighted balls, and so he didn't throw with those as often when he came back. And it just, once you get behind, it's really hard to catch up for guys when you're a midseason return. So last season certainly wasn't the type of year that Gavin was anticipating having, but this is the type of guy he's a big hulking guy. He's got a huge frame. He's got a Garrett Cole type delivery, and I think he's capable of putting up Garrett Cole type numbers. Last year I was really, really high on Tanner Bibee. I thought that he was the guy that was going to take that next step, and he did a little bit, but not quite to the extent that I thought that he would. But Gavin Williams has all the makings of being a Cy Young contender throughout his career, and I think this is the year that he starts to take that step.
See, I'm going to go with the exact opposite of what you said. Give me Tanner Bibee. He was the dude last year. If you would ask this question 2 years ago, you would have said Gavin Williams, bar none. He had the bigger arm. He had the more dominant stuff. But Bibee has done a great job. And when Allen's been out, when you don't know what's going on with Bieber, when you don't know what's going on with McKenzie, Tanner Bibee's the guy that's been eating these innings up and doing a great job at it. Also, just a little article that came out, I was just reading something a second ago, is they think that he might have tweaked his shoulder last year and played with a little bit of a shoulder injury last year, and he still was, pretty good for what it was. So for me, he's very unassuming, and when you look at him and you look at it across, his stats and what he's throwing, but he's definitely a guy that his velocity is sneaky on people, and I think this guy by the end of the year will continue to be the #1 pitcher on the staff, and he'll get the ball game 1 wherever they play if they do make the playoffs.
This question gives me even more optimism for the season than I already had. I talked last week that I thought the Guardians right now, if I had to pick, I think that they would be probably my 2nd or 3rd pick in the division. I like Kansas City a lot. I like Detroit a lot. I think there may be 2 or 3 games separating all 3 of those teams. But talking about this and having this discussion really gets me excited because you're right. It could be Bibee. I mean, he pitched great last year. And I like you, when I heard that he was hurt, I'm like, okay, give me a healthy Tanner Bibee for the whole season. I love Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams, to me, I've pulled back a little bit. I'm still buying Gavin Williams, but I've pulled back just a little bit because we've now seen 30 starts or so, and it just hasn't been there on a consistent basis yet. I watch him throw, I look at his stuff, and it doesn't equate to me. He should be far more dominant and should have much more success than he has. I know the injury will definitely set you back, and I get that. But because I haven't seen it from him yet, I can't go that route. My pitcher, and you guys both have this wrong, my pitcher is the obvious answer here. It's the guy who's been the ace on this team for the last 4 or 5 years, and that's Shane Bieber. And I know a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, Shane Bieber's coming off the Tommy John. We don't even know what he's going to be. We don't know what he's going to do. Look at his numbers last year from 2 starts. He had the injury last year.
That was wild.
He put those numbers up, sparkling numbers. I mean, they can't get any better than that. And he did it with an already compromised elbow. So I know we don't know what he's going to be after Tommy John, but I know what Shane Bieber is. I know what he's made of. I know he's working as hard as anybody to get back. We won't see him till July. He's got a couple of months runway to get ready for October, and I'm firmly in the belief that once the first postseason game rolls around, and I hope we get there, that the pitcher with the ball in his hand on the mound when game 1 starts will be that guy, Shane Bieber. He will work his way into form, and he has the best stuff of the 3.
No Tristan McKenzie's? No takers on that?
Dark horse Tristan McKenzie. That's why I'm excited about this question, because there's 4 names in the mix.
When you talk X factors for the Cavs, the X factor for the Guardians may be Tristan McKenzie.
I agree with that.
Because if he comes around and gets back to form from 2 years ago, you've really got something here. The only thing that I was cautious on with Bieber was coming back from Tommy John. They just use kid gloves with these guys.
They do.
July, August, September. It's really
He's already thrown off a mound.
Yeah, I know. But it's the year after when you really cut him loose. Now, when you're talking end of season, we're talking October is what this conversation is geared for. Well, that's the time to cut him loose, especially because he's probably going to be a free agent again. You've only got him for July, August, and I think it's probably August. I know he's probably a little bit ahead of schedule. It's still end of July, early August, more than likely when he makes his debut. I don't know if that's enough time for him to ramp up for me to be comfortable calling him their #1 starter. But if he is, hold on tight, because they've got something here.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. That's a great staff. And for the folks that are concerned at 1-5, stop it. Their run differential is 0.
It doesn't matter.
They've scored as many as they've given up. It's spring. They don't care about this.